how do you multiply fractions? Multiply across the top and the bottom. So you take the tops, 1 times 4 is 4, and 2 times 3 is 6. Which one you do first, the top or the bottom, doesn't matter as long as the top stays on top and the bottom stays on the bottom. You are multiplying the numerators of the fractions to get the new numerator, and the denominators of the fractions to get the new denominator. Refer to the multiplication video on how to multiply. Next, you are going to simplify. Refer to the simplification video on how to simplify. In this case, 4/6 can be simplified into 2/3. And that is how you multiply. Also, think about it this way. You can identify common factors. Let's take this example, 2/8 times 1/2. That can also be written as 2 times 1 over 8 times 2. And you can do this because you keep the numerators together and the denominators together. You can also rewrite this as 2 over 2 times 1 over 8 because in multiplication, the order doesn't matter because of the commutative property. If you remember in the fraction notation video, 2 over 2 is the same as 1, so you can cross it out because it is essentially 1, and you are left with 1/8. So essentially what you are doing is simplification. Refer to the simplification video on how to do this. If you didn't cross this out and simplify, you would be left with 2 over 16, which can then be crossed out or simplified into 1/8. Let's look at another example. 2/7 times 3/4. That can also be written as 2 times 3 over 7 times 4 because you're keeping the numerators together and the denominators together. You can rewrite this as 2 over 4 times 3 over 7 because the order doesn't matter in multiplication due to the commutative property. You would then simplify 2/4, which would become 1/2. And 1/2 times 3/7. Multiply across the top and then the bottom. And you get 3/14. By crossing out, you're doing simplification within the problem instead of after.
Why does multiplication work? So, as you saw in the earlier examples, when you multiply two numbers, you just multiply across the numerators together to get 3, and then you multiply the denominators together to get 8. But why does this work? So let's look at a drawing of this to help us. So let's start with 1/2. We have 1/2 of a circle. Now, if we take 3/4 of that 1/2, you get 3 small pieces. Now let's count the total pieces there are in the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Of the 8 pieces, there are 3 of them that are filled. Therefore, you still get 3/8. Let's see if this works if we start with 3/4. So you have 3/4 of the circle filled. Now, if you look at afterwards, you take, this was the original 3/4 from here to here. Now, if we take half of that, you get 3 circles again. And let's see how many pieces there are in the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 pieces still, and 3 of which are filled in green. Now let's see if there's an algorithmic way to write this out. So let's say you have a fraction a over b. That can also be represented as a times 1 over b. And c over d can also be represented as c times 1 over d. If you do not understand the way these are written, please refer to our fraction notation video. Now, when you collect these together and multiply the numerators a times c and the denominators b times d, you can multiply them in any order due to the commutative property, and you get AC over BD, which is how you multiply fractions.